What's poppin', y'all? My name is Phyllis McKenzie, and welcome to Carey Life Podcast. If you love the expression of creativity in visual, performing, literary, and culinary arts, then this is the podcast for you. So subscribe and follow our social media pages through the link in the description and be part of the family. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hi everyone, and welcome to a brand new week on Carey Life Podcast. We have a very amazing guest today. We tried so hard to make this interview happen, and finally it has. She is a TV personality, an on-camera expert, celebrity stylist, influencer, podcaster, blogger, and also a mother of two. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Ali Levine. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my, I'm so glad to have you. I promised people that I'd get you, and today we're doing this interview.
Hey, look, I got to tell you, I really admired your persistence and your passion when you're reaching out to me. You know, I get a lot of requests, and I really appreciated that not only were you persistent, but you were very positive in the way you reached out to me, and you were very, not too much, but enough to continue to stay on top of me. And so I just want to say, kudos to you because, I know how it is even as a podcaster too, when I reach out for guests and, I completely, respect when people follow up a bunch of times. So thank you for making it happen.
And thank you too for making this happen. It's both of our efforts that we're here today. So let's begin by you telling us who you are, a little bit about yourself, your career so far, and how you became a celebrity stylist.
Oh, sure. Oh, gosh. Well, been quite the journey. So I'm Ali. I moved out to California about 10 and a half years ago. I'm originally from New York. I lived in New York pretty much my whole life other than college. And I always knew I loved fashion. I always wanted to be in fashion since I was a young girl. My family, my grandmother, everyone told me that I was obsessed with fashion. Clothing, accessories, putting outfits together. I was interested in painting and doing art and sewing. And my grandmother did a lot of like oil painting with me and sewing and crocheting. And, I always was into it. And then fashion, I got into fashion, with sewing with my grandmother. And then I continued with just following magazines. And as I got older in high school, taking a bunch of classes and in college. And so I just always knew I wanted to be in fashion, but styling wasn't really a thing. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be in fashion. And so, fast forward, I go to college and, I end up becoming the president of my fashion club. And I didn't expect that to happen. That's a whole nother long story that's an episode in itself. But basically, I followed my high school sweetheart, ex-boyfriend, out to his school, and I went to Arizona to start a school there. And then it ended up being such a blessing because I was like this big fish in a small pond, and they wanted me to help run their fashion club. And so I ended up becoming, the head of Northern Arizona Merchandising Association, NAMA, the club. And so I got to produce fashion shows and help with the trend forecasting, and really got to take the reins and, become everything I wanted to do in fashion as a young, woman at school. And I was helping other people get into the club and, learn all about fashion. And it was amazing. And so, fast forward after doing that, I met with a bunch of different companies that were looking for people for internships, and I was trying to help different students get jobs. And while I was helping them, I ended up landing my own internship with Target, or as I love to call it, Target. And I ended up working with them, and I did an internship with them, and I loved it. And we just clicked so well. And I thought they're such an amazing company and incredible training. I can't say enough good things. And they were like, what do you think about going back to New York since you're from there? We have a store opening in New York. We could really use you there to open it and have your skills, and we'll train you in the city and this and that. And so I was like, all right, back to the East Coast I go. So packed my bags, went back to New York and started training in the city. And then I opened their flagship store, and I did that for almost 2 years, and I loved it. But it was really intense for a young, 20, 21-year-old who had just graduated college, who was still kind of very much growing up myself. And it was an amazing experience, but I didn't want to do 90 hours of retail anymore. After a couple years, I was exhausted. It was amazing, but I was just I need a break. And so I wanted to do more design. I wanted to be more behind the scenes on the retail side. So I asked Target about having another opportunity. They're such an incredible company. They were like, we would love to help you, do something else. Like, what do you want to do? And they even put me in front of a position in design in Target's company. But sadly, it was in Minnesota, and I did not want to go to Minnesota. Even though I love Target, and so I ended up, saying goodbye and starting over. And so then that led me to starting to explore what it was I wanted to try in fashion. And I realized since I had done retail, I really wanted to explore more of like the design side and the trends and, the things that happen behind the scenes. So I started applying for different jobs, got my first job in New York City at a company called Fragments, which was a private label jewelry company. And I did like the shipping production and design production as an assistant. And it was basically private label. So it was anything from like Aeropostale, Banana Republic, all the way to like Barney's and even Kids. And it was amazing. I worked with them. I really got like my feet wet, like really got to learn and train and start over in the design side. Then I went over to Coach. I did handbags and accessories for them and designed with them. I worked a little bit in and out with Talbots and Lacoste. And then the stock market crashed in New York. Well, everywhere, but especially New York. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have a job. What am I going to do? And I finally felt like I had found myself in design. So I was heartbroken because I really loved what I was doing. I felt like I was thriving. I finally found like my calling. And then it was gone. And so I didn't know what to do. And I was quite worked up. I went home, saved my money, started living with my parents again. And started like figuring out like what I could do and started asking around. And luckily I had quite a bit of networking and some different friends and family in the entertainment industry. And they had said to me, why don't you look into like more of the fashion side entertainment? And I was like, what would that be? So I was like, all right, I'll check first assistant position with the amazing Oliver Stone, director and producer. Everybody knows he was incredible. That was like my first like really huge step into the industry, and I was his assistant. So I was doing anything from donuts to coffee to cutting scripts and making sure they were ready, at 3 a.m. and dropping them off. I mean, it was like all hours, no matter what, consuming, exhausting, but it was incredible. I was learning so much. And so I did that. And then he asked me, what I wanted to do. And I mentioned fashion. I told him what I had done in school and, what I had done in design. And he was like, well, I'll introduce you to the costume team. So I got to meet the costume team after quite a bit of hard work working for the production side. And I got to start working with Ellen Marajnik, who's a super famous, well-known costume designer. And the movie was Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. So it was my first movie. And it was incredible. I worked with her and I got to see, it was a little bit of like, for those that have watched Devil Wear Prada, like it was a little bit like that. I was running around for her at all hours of the night. I was feeding her cat. I was getting her groceries, I was packing her bags, but I was so happy that I got to be so close to the action and I got to like help her with everything. And so I did that. And then after that, I started really getting opportunities to just be an assistant all over different projects like Mariah Carey's Butterfly Kisses in New York City. And I worked on Mercy, which was a hospital show with James Vanderbeek. And, I bopped around on 30 Rock. And I just helped on all different shows. And I got to like really get my feet wet and understand the industry and start to really fall in love with a new type of, fashion work. And so after that, I got asked to go to Atlanta and work on Big Mama's House with Martin Lawrence. And I went there, and that's what led me to Los Angeles. Basically, after working on that production, half of the team was from LA, and we really clicked and, networked really well. And they were like, you do a great job. Would you want to come to LA and work? And so, you don't get many of those opportunities in your life. So I took it. And I moved out to LA and, here I am 10 and a half years later, married to who was my boyfriend at the time in New York, who followed me out here. We're now married, 8.5 years and have 2 beautiful girls. And and that's kind of how it started. And then when I came out here, I worked in the movie industry and did a lot of different projects. And then I kind of pivoted to styling because I realized I didn't want to do the design of costume anymore. I wanted to do more of the trending and the lifestyle and the happening and all of that. And I was styling. But styling, when I first was in school and I first was doing jobs in New York, styling really wasn't like a big thing. People didn't talk about it. You didn't really know who a stylist was. So it wasn't something I pursued until I got to Los Angeles and my eyes were open to it. And I started seeing it and I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. And then I kind of had to start all over again. And I started interning and I started Rose for the Kardashians and Emma Roberts stylists and just different people to really understand and learn. And then once I did that and started getting my own skill set, then, eventually Ali Levine Design was born. I started getting my own clients and, I worked my ass off to get, as many opportunities as I could, styling people for magazines, television, red carpet, editorials, music videos. I mean, you name it. And, in the beginning, I was doing it all for trade just to get my name out there, doing it for free, just doing it to get my name out there, get the credibility. And I was so blessed that people really loved my work. And I started getting, hired on gigs and my name was getting associated with different celebrities for Best Dressed. And that's kind of where things took off with my celebrity styling career.
That's amazing. You've actually had an amazing journey. I haven't had a guest who's had such ups and downs and started way from the bottom on a different perspective, and now you are an actual it girl in celebrity styling in LA.
Thank you. It's it definitely was a lot of work. It's it still is even now. Obviously things have shifted for me being a mom of two, and obviously with COVID and the pandemic, I'm doing a lot of remote styling and projects via FaceTime and Skype and Zoom and it's challenging but also rewarding in a lot of ways as well. And yeah, it was definitely quite the journey and climb. And it was also kind of backwards, I think, in a way to get there in different positions. But it worked out, and I think a lot of times people think when they look at someone like myself or even myself, when I look at someone who's super successful, I don't know their ups and downs. I just see the success and I'm like, wow, look at everything they did. But I don't know all the hurdles and everything they took to get there. That's why I love podcasts. That's why even I love my podcast. It's like when I get to interview people and find out their stories, and get to help create that art of storytelling. It's really powerful and really magical. And, so it's really fun as an entrepreneur to get to see different people's journeys. So I appreciate what you said about my career, but it's been a long haul and still is, I'm always working and, I don't say grinding anymore because I feel like the grinding days, the hustling days are over. I don't get crazy like I used to when I was younger. I think I've found more of a harmony in how I get things done and I don't make myself crazy like I used to, which is actually a blessing, to be honest, because when I was younger, I was so focused on making sure I did a million things and I would never sleep, but I would, just get like 25 things done in one day. And I used to be so proud of myself. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got so many things done. But I didn't realize that like I was also like not giving myself any time to even like eat or shower or, have fun. And, it was very much just like work, like a workaholic. And so, I think that's something I've learned in my, career path is really finding that harmony. I don't like the word balance. So I really like to say harmony of like just figuring out like the days that I can get a few things done, that's great. And the days that I get nothing done, like, okay, well then that's that, and giving myself that grace, especially as a mom, to be able to create the space to be able to do both. I mean, like even right now, us podcasting, I put my baby to bed so that, I could be on with you. And then my toddler, is sitting here in the room quietly drawing, so it's a juggle consistently, but it's taught me to be much more present and much more productive in the time that I do have versus whereas I used to feel like when I was younger, I was just like scatterbrained and doing so much all at once. And maybe I wasn't really doing 100% of everything. Now I feel like I really give 100% to each thing I do and like complete it before I move on to the next.
So you mentioned earlier on that you've worked on several movies in the beginning of your career, and you've also worked with some A-listing celebrities like Cody Longo, Lillian Garcia, Lauren Bowles. How is it working with these people up close and spending so much time with them, telling them what they should wear, what they should match it with? How does it feel to be around them?
started styling celebrities, it was very intimidating, of course, and quite vulnerable because, you know that you're not only dressing them to make them like look good, but they're going to be going to a red carpet, they're going to be seen here, they're going to be seen there. And I think because I have such a passion for fashion and I have such a love for making people feel confident, I always say confidence is your best accessory. And I have such a love for making people feel good that, like, when I would dress them, even though I was a little bit nervous because of who they were, that kind of like went out the window right away when I'd start dressing them because I could see their confidence come through and I could see them get excited about an outfit. And so it was really powerful for me to get to like transform those people at such a, higher level as far as their, celebrity status to be able to be like, oh my gosh, I made you feel great because people don't realize that, celebrities really are people like ourselves and they have insecurities too. And they are afraid to wear a certain dress or a certain style or a certain cut because they don't want to, look a certain way or they don't like maybe something about their body. And that was something I learned too, was like, these are people like everyone else, even though they are celebrities and we, see them and adore them and, some people idolize them, they really are everyday people. So for me, it was like, I kind of got through that really fast and realized like, wow, I'm working with these people and I need to treat them like myself because they also need that confidence. They also want to feel good in what they're wearing and feel good about it and feel reassured. So I kind of got like, very personal with many of them because they would tell me everything. A lot of them become very vulnerable when you work with them and you're seeing them, of course, naked and getting them dressed and doing all the things like, because that's part of your job, they open up to a lot and they trust you. So I feel like, I built that trust with a lot of them and had those types of relationships. Of course, I had some here and there that, didn't trust me as far as picking a certain outfit or they'd push back against me. Those were always harder, clients because it's never easy when you know what you're doing and you're doing a good job at it and somebody tries to tell you that's not what they want to wear or they don't agree with you. And sometimes they're right and other times, even if they're not right, you have to just be like, okay, because, at the end of the day, they're the talent, So it was hard for me in that sense. But, I was lucky. Like you said, Lillian Garcia. Lillian was amazing. I loved working with her. She was so much fun. Like we would go in her closet and she would like crack up with me going through everything and putting outfits together for her. And she would have a blast getting dressed and trying different things on. And we'd make, a whole night of it, having fun. And, we would just have a great time together. And she has such a great personality. So I can't say enough good things. Cody also, he was so much fun. He always like was so appreciative of things I would pick out for him. And he'd say like, wow, you're so talented. I would have never tried that on. I really like this. And he was really open and warm, which was really nice, So when you get people like that, it makes your job, that much more fun and exhilarating and rewarding. It's different when you have someone, I won't mention names, but I had some people who were very tough and they were very nasty. And it's like, it not only is it hard on your job, but it's hard for me. It was hard on my, on myself because I'm trying to make these people look good and I want to make sure that they're happy. And when they're not happy and they're saying they don't like the outfit or they're giving me a hard time or they don't trust me, it's a very uncomfortable feeling because you're, want to do the best in your job. So that's definitely something that was a little bit of a downside when it came to dressing celebrities. But overall, I would say I was lucky that most of my clients were pretty good to me. I had some that, were not, but I think that's normal. And also too, a lot had more insecurities than a lot of people realize. And so because they had insecurities, they would kind of become a little bit more ego or a little bit more rude because they were trying to hide their insecurities. That was something I also, got to see a lot when I'd be dressing people. So, it was quite a journey in itself, learning how to work with those people. Also, too, like, someone like Holly Robinson Pete, who was amazing to work with, and her family, not only was it amazing to work with her, but it was amazing to see the transformation with her. I got to put her in all these different outfits that she would have never worn before or was afraid to wear. And she started booking, roles on movies that she had never booked before and got big shows and all these things. And people don't realize, like, sometimes, so many times, fashion changes the game for someone because it's branding and it's a message and it's everything. And so it was really cool to get to be a part of those moments and watch certain people I dressed, like their careers take off from the way they were being dressed.
And Ali, you also have a jewelry collection with Sterling Forever named Hearts on Fire. How is that going out for you?
So that's actually been retired. We finished
Uh-huh.
that last year. It did really well. It sold out, which is why it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Every piece sold out. It ended up actually getting picked up by Nordstrom. A part of the collection got picked up by Nordstrom back in 2018 when
Mm-hmm.
I was pregnant with my first daughter, Amelia. And I actually found out that Nordstrom was picking it up like the day I went into labor with my daughter. So it was quite the
Mm-hmm.
little push present for me, from the universe. I was so excited. I mean, I love Nordstrom, and I was so excited. And so it did really well, and it sold out. And I was so happy that it did so well. And yeah, we've talked about doing something down the road, but right now, we haven't created a new line. But it did really well. People really loved it, and people felt like they could get something that was red carpet looking, but for a
Mm-hmm.
very inexpensive price. And I love working on the line. I named it Hearts on Fire because I was pregnant with Amelia when I found out that I could get to design my own jewelry line with them and collaborate. And my heart was on fire when I was pregnant. It felt really just so surreal. And I was so excited and blessed to be, pregnant with her, especially when I found out I was having a girl. I was just so on fire and so
Mm-hmm.
happy. And so that's where the name of the collection came from. And then I did all the like pink accents in it and opal, to really represent her and be around like
Mm-hmm.
her birth and everything. So it was really beautiful and really magical. And I love designing, and I've talked about doing other projects with other people. So I hope to have, another collection out in the coming years with some other brands. But yeah, right now, it did sell out, which is a great thing. But, right now
Yeah.
it's not available since it's sold out.
Even though it's sold out, those who have it, I'm pretty sure they're lucky right now because they're very pretty pieces, especially the necklace ones. They're very pretty.
Thank you. Yeah, I really wanted the necklaces. I'm big for wanted them to stand out because that could either be a statement that I've taught
Mm-hmm.
my celebrities and public figures, different people that I would work with. Like, your accessories really can make you stand out. And like, it doesn't have to be a million pieces. It can be one really great statement piece, or you can layer something and put it together and it'll transform the whole look and it'll change it up. So I wanted my collection to represent that for everybody that was buying it.
Ali, we all know, everybody in this world knows that if you meet somebody who is not in the same field as you are, they normally have misconceptions about your job. Like for me, for example, I'm a journalist student, and from where I come from, people think that being a journalist is a hard thing and it's something you can't easily get a job from, which is not true because you can easily become a journalist on your own. So, in terms of you being a celebrity stylist, what's the biggest misconception that people have about your field of work?
I think, to be honest, like my family, they still really don't get what I do because especially with social media and creating content, they're like, well, you're on social media and so you post and I have to explain like the brand campaigns, and I have to explain the way like, things go, and and I think a lot of people, they don't necessarily fully understand that like I'm kind of my own brand in itself, and I have to explain that like everything is kind of an extension of me and an
Mm,
entity. And though it may look like I'm having fun, like, on my stories, like I am, but I'm also sharing, my life as storytelling, and I'm sharing products that I'm using, and it's still a form of my business, even though it may look like I'm having fun, which I am. But I'm
mm,
very blessed that I love what I do. But it's, at the same time, it is work. So it's like my friends will call me and they'll think like I'm available because they see my stories, and I'm like, no, I'm recording and I'm working right now. I'm creating content. And they're like, yeah, but you're in your stories. I'm like, but that's part of my content. So I think a lot of that has been a misconception with a lot of friends and family that don't fully understand what I do for a career.
mm,
Um, and, I think, to be honest, I think, the overall public is starting to learn more and more like what an influencer, does and what they bring to the table. And, what someone that has their own brand is creating and how there are different parts. But I mean, there's even times where someone will reach out to me and they'll say like, wow, I love everything you do, but like, I want to work with you, but how do I even work with you? Like, and I tell them like, well, these are the many entities that I have when you work with me. So, are you looking to get a product out there? Are you wanting to create content around it? Are you wanting a story told? Like, so I think it's once you break up like what the different, services are of who Ali is and Ali Levine Design, then it becomes a little bit more clear of like what they want to do with me or, how they want to work with me. But I would say it's more so, I think, family and friends, just that kind of disconnect of like when I'm working versus when it may look like I'm free or having fun.
And how do you choose what look works for each of your individual clients? Do you check for the season, the trends, the body shape? What do you use personally?
So, everyone's different, obviously. So like when it comes to a celebrity client, there's many moving pieces. So, usually I'm speaking to a manager or an agent plus the client, and different people who have opinions that are part of the process of, the visual of putting this person together. And so usually I create a mood board and it's like, this is what, the colors are, this is what the vibe is, this is the trends, the patterns, whatever it may be. This is what we're going for. This is the goal. This is what we want to do. And then it's like recreating that and taking those pieces and creating those different looks and pulling from different showrooms and reaching out to different designers that fit that aesthetic and building all of that together is really kind of how it starts with a celebrity. And obviously, depending on what they're going to, a red carpet, an editorial, it depends on what's happening with them. Because if it's an editorial, then I can do something super crazy and glamorous and it doesn't have to necessarily fully fit or work because I can tweak it and make it be like magic on set. But if they're walking down a red carpet, it has to fit perfectly and it has to work. Otherwise, they're going to look horrible. And, I'm going to look terrible. So, it's those different types of pieces. And then like, one of the conversations I have with a lot of clients, whether it be a celebrity or an everyday person like myself, like I'll sit with them and I'll say, or via remote, I'll say like, give me 3 words that describe you and your style. Like, what are 3 words that like really like you feel like emulates you or you want it to emulate you? And then we go through like what those styles are and what maybe some of those trends might be and, what colors they love. And I start to piece together like what their look might be, even if they're not sure of it. And we start there to then build out because I always say it goes down to the 4 F's. So it's, I always say fit, form, function, and fashion. And I think it's really important first to start with form and the fit to make sure it really fits well and it, really like just makes them look amazing or shows off a certain asset they wanted to show, whatever it may be. That's so important. The foundation is everything. If you don't have that foundation for your fit and form, you have nothing. So really starting there and then function, like unless again, it's like an editorial where it doesn't matter because it's just for that moment, it needs to be functional. They can look amazingly fabulous, but if they can't move in it and they have to be on a red carpet for 10 hours, like I'm not doing my job, so it's got to function. And then fashion, it's got to be, fabulous and beautiful fashion and fit the aesthetic or the trend or whatever it may be that we're working towards in order for it to be created. So it's kind of the first steps I take. And then obviously it's a lot more intense when it comes to reaching out to different showrooms, making lists of different people to find those aesthetics with, reaching out to like hundreds of different designers, finding different looks, try on for several fittings. It's a lot in process, but that's kind of the bits and pieces of it.
And when it comes to you, how would you describe your own personal style?
It's funny. My style has evolved and changed over the years. I feel like I've always described myself as like classy boho chic. And I feel like I still kind of vibe with that. I mean, maybe not as much boho as I become a mom and I haven't been able to wear like as many, fringy and, funky things just because, mom life, I'm mostly with my daughters. But when I do go out, I still kind of bring that, boho feel. But I would say now, especially being a mom and, a new mom at that of 2 young ones, I would say that I've really developed a mom uniform for myself. And I talk about that a lot with women that are pregnant or, have children, because a lot of times it's hard for them, and myself too, to get dressed and feel pretty and feel put together in a short amount of time. And so a lot of times I tell people, if you can create a mom uniform, whether that be, a go-to shirt and jeans, or it be, leggings and a cute top, or it's, a sweatsuit that's a cute style, or maybe you're someone who likes to wear a t-shirt dress, whatever it might be, that is your go-to, and you have it in your closet, and you have it set up in a way that that's like your uniform. Like, you don't stray from that. You can add accessories, you can change your shoes, you can change your makeup, but that's your go-to, so that when you're exhausted like myself, and you're like, up, in the crack of dawn, and you're like looking for something to put on, you don't want to stay in your pajamas, you walk inside the closet and you see, okay, great, there's my jeans, there's my top, I'm gonna grab that, and then you grab, your accessories if you want to. So, my style in that sense has definitely changed because of that. But I also do try, even if I am wearing sweats or doing something more cozy, I still try to have fun fabrics or really fun colors to be vibrant. I still try to bring my own, fun feeling and aesthetic to the style. It's just obviously, evolved as I've become a mom.
And speaking of closets, what's your favorite item in your very own closet?
Oh, favorite item. That's a hard one. I have many. Well, okay. So, I mean, as far as something like vintage, it's my grandmother's coat. It's just fabulous, and it smells like her still. It reminds me of her. And, she was my best friend on this earth for many, many years till she passed. So, having that is just, I love looking at it and seeing it. And it's just like that vintage, amazing feeling. So it's definitely one of my favorites. And then I would say probably one of my pairs of shoes, probably my Versace boots I have. They're like just really fun, black, bulky leather boots that have a cool chain on them, and they can be dressed up and dressed down and like be grungy, but they can also be fabulous. And, a lot of times I just throw them on with like whatever I'm wearing, like even just a sweater dress, and I just want to feel fabulous. I just put them on and they just dial up my entire look. And that's one of my favorite things as a stylist. It's like, it doesn't always have to be so complicated. Like, yes, putting an outfit together is really fun, but I understand not everybody has the time to do that, or the patience, or maybe their brain just doesn't really work that way and they need guidance. And it's like, I always advise people, if you can have one thing that's a statement, whether it be the boots, or, a fun pair of sneakers, or, a cool pair of heels, or a really great necklace, like that one thing that could be a statement, that changes everything. You could be wearing a little t-shirt and jeans and have an amazing pair of boots, and all of a sudden your whole look just changed.
And would you consider shoes as being something worth spending money on?
Absolutely. I think that shoes are definitely worth the investment. Of course, it depends on, what the shoe might be, if you're going to wear it that often, like perfect example for me, being someone who used to be on the red carpet all the time, pre-COVID, it made sense for me to have, a black, Louboutin that I invested in to wear, because they were my go-to that I wore with almost every single, sexy dress I wore on the red carpet, or a pair of nice trousers or jeans. Like, it dressed up my entire look, and it always looked fabulous. And you can never, never have enough of a, a beautiful black shoe that stands out. So, I think it also depends, if it's something that's like maybe crazy expensive and it's a funky print, or it's something that maybe you can't wear with everything, well, then you have to kind of rethink that and say, okay, is it worth it? Because I always tell my clients, like, unless they really, really have to have it, they should be looking at, like an actual basic statement, but still a basic, still a, a versatile piece. So a stunning, white blouse, or a great pair of trousers, or a gorgeous designer belt, or a designer pair of heels, and a nude or a black or a navy. Pick things that are going to be versatile, that are going to be your go-tos and your statements and your classics, versus something that might be so trendy and funky that like it's gone in 2 months, and then what are you going to do with it? And then it's not worth it, and then when you try to resell it, it's not going to resell as high because the trend went away. So I always tell people, unless they're really, really set on a trend, try to be inexpensive with your trends. Try to get things, just for fun, and just know it's going to go away. And that way you don't have to cry when you spend so much money. And invest your money in the actual things that are your classics, that are your go-tos, that are going to build your wardrobe, that are your essentials, that are your staples.
And for those who can't actually afford to get big things or big designer brands, you'll find that they want to look good, but they also love a great deal when it comes to whatever they buy. So you find them walking into H&M or maybe Zara and Forever 21. Some have found their outfits even on thrift stores. So what is your advice for places that someone can get budget buys when it comes to fashion, but at the same time they look good regardless?
So I would say, absolutely. I always tell people that, you can look, inexpensive, wear it inexpensive and look fabulous, affordable and chic, cheap and chic, whatever resonates with you, you can still look fabulous. There are many times where I wear a Target outfit and people are like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Like Target, obviously from working there, is one of my favorites. They do such a great job with the designers they work with and how they source, because I was there behind the scenes. I
Mm-hmm.
love Zara. I think they do a great job of tailoring and how they do things. I also love H&M. I think they have some fabulous basics like blazers and trousers and blouses. I think that it's really Marshalls, even TJ Maxx. I think it's also like honing in on what you're looking for. So like if someone said to me, I need a great blazer, I would send them to H&M and Zara. Like they have fabulous blazers, great tailoring, great
Mm-hmm.
styles that are a great price that are going to look fabulous on you and they're not going to look cheap. If you said, I want something a little more funky, maybe a really cool funky dress or something a bit more cocktail style, I'd say go to TJ Maxx, or Marshalls and find something there. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. But those are some
Mm-hmm.
of my favorite go-tos that are like inexpensive and they look fabulous. And sometimes you can even get, like TJ Maxx or Marshalls or even Nordstrom Rack, you can get close to designer, but get it for half or three-quarters of the price. And that's even more exciting.
Mm-hmm. And I had a dream once. It's actually a very funny dream, but I love J-Lo. Since I was little, I've always loved her. I loved her fashion, and I love the fact that her hair stays in place no matter what type of performance she's doing. So I dreamt that I actually owned the whole of JLo's closet. Like whatever she wore, I had the same outfit. And it was an amazing dream. Then I woke up and remembered, oh wait, I'm not JLo. So when it comes to you, Ali, if you were to choose one celebrity closet which you could just walk in and carry out whatever you wanted, what closet would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, that's an easy answer. Lisa Vanderpump. I used to style her. She's amazing. I literally felt like I could have died in her closet and died happy. She just like her entire closet was just so incredible. First off, is like literally every single designer you can imagine from A to Z, all organized beautifully by color, by texture, by designer. I mean, you name it. It was just a dream closet. Every
Mm-hmm.
detail, every crystal, every accessory. I mean, I can't say enough good things. I literally, the first time I styled her and walked in there, I turned to my friend and I was like, I could die here and I'd be happy. Like, it was just like thing. I just loved her style. I love everything about her, whole
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic and how fabulous she carries herself and all the beautiful things she picks. So, I would definitely pick her closet.
Okay, so what's the most memorable moment of your career so far?
Most memorable moment. Wow. Well, I think Lisa Vanderpump was definitely a big one because she's such a, big deal and such a boss babe in the industry. Getting to
Mm-hmm.
go to her home and going to Villa, Rosa and seeing her amazing home. I mean, the singing swans and the ponies. I mean, like everything you see on TV is real, and that was amazing. And just like so surreal for me. So I think that was one. Being featured in the New York Times was huge for me. It was definitely a turning point in my career. Seeing yourself in a newspaper on page 6 in print that you
Mm-hmm.
don't see every day, that was really amazing. And, just felt so good to be featured and shared everywhere in the world. And so I would say, that was definitely another one. And, I've had a lot of different amazing press since then, between Forbes and Wall Street Journal and, all these different people and national and television segments. I think one of my first AP News segments was really surreal for me, and I loved getting to be a part of it. And I got to comment on, if I remember correctly, it was Kate Middleton's pregnancy and like what she was wearing and speak to the trends. So I've had a lot of like really blessed moments where I've gotten to be like, wow, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe this is my career. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, I honestly, but I would say those couple that I mentioned to you probably stick out the most.
Well, that's amazing. I actually wish that one day I can get to the point where you are. Well, I'm not a stylist, but getting featured on big magazines, big newspapers, and being not even in the front page, just a small article where somebody can talk about either the podcast or maybe the work I'm doing, or maybe me as a journalist be in that position myself.
Well, look, I wish you the best of luck, and, never say never. And like I said, it
Mm,
took me years to get to where I am, and I'm still, working and, constantly, going up in my career, I guess you would say, and excelling. And it takes hard work, but if you've got the passion, I think, and the drive, I think those are two key things, in my opinion, when it comes to this industry and, working in it. And it sounds like you do. So just keep
mhm.
working and keep working hard and being passionate and good at what you do and networking and, put it out to the universe. You'd be surprised what happens.
Thank you so much. And there is no pain without gain, right? And I know that sometimes people can view stylists as quote unquote magicians because you do magic when it comes to fashion. But there are challenges, right? So, what are the challenges that you have faced as a stylist?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I couldn't even list them all. But I would just say, just what you were saying with the magician. There are so many times where, you're on a set and someone doesn't agree with what you brought as far as clothing, and you gotta, make something work because you're shooting, a magazine cover, and you've got 20 minutes to find an outfit, and you gotta transform something. And, something that comes to mind is like, there was one celebrity who was very, very difficult, and that I styled, and she didn't want to wear anything that I brought. And I had brought like
Mhm.
5 racks of clothing, and she didn't want to wear anything that I brought, and it was really difficult. And I remember like having a little mini panic attack, and I walked out of the room, and I came back in. I started looking around, and on the rack there was this one like kind of fabric that was kind of like I would say, I guess, like a translucent, like really pretty sheer silk. And it was like a part of a scarf of another dress. And I called the designer and I said, look, I can't get her to wear anything. Is it okay if I take this off and like, sew it and tack it into something else, and, we'll figure it out and, pay
Mhm.
you, the difference or whatever. And they were like, yeah, sure. And they were like, if it gets on the cover, I won't even charge you. And I swear I had God, my angels, everything with me, because that's what we did. And she was so happy. We made it this like faux fabulous dress. Don't even ask me how. I couldn't even tell you. And it became, not only was it the cover, but she got best dress and it went everywhere. So thank God it worked out,
Mhm.
and I ended up not having to even pay for it. But there are many times, where you end up paying out of pocket because a celebrity, they ruin something that is on loan, they lose something that is on loan. There's a lot that goes into it that's behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see or know happens.
That's amazing. And let's say you were to travel back in time into one fashion era, where would you end up?
Oh my gosh, probably back with Coco Chanel.
We all wish that.
Right? So fabulous. At least so I could just wear the tweed blazer and the whole button and lapels and the whole thing, just at least for a moment.
And what about if you were to choose anyone you would give a makeover, whoever it may be, who would you choose?
Oh geez, who would I give a makeover? Hmm. I think I would have fun with Zendaya. I always thought her style was fun. I know her
Hmm.
stylist and they do a great job of her. And I love that she was always so open. She was always open to experimenting and trying different things. I love that. It's really fun when you get to really get creative in your job and they trust you and let you just go and do whatever vision you see for them versus telling you like what you should wear. So yeah, what they should wear. So I would say, she would probably be someone that her, and I would say, what's her name? I'm Jessica. I'm spacing because I have mom brain. Carrie Fisher on Sex and the City. Jessica. Wow, this is how you know I have mom brain. Sarah Jessica Parker. I would definitely, because she loves fashion in real life and she like
Hmm.
loves to explore. So I'm all about working with people who like genuinely love fashion, and like they don't fear it, like they thrive in it, because that's how I feel.
Hmm.
So I really love like getting to like work with those types of people.
I hope whoever is listening to this now and you may know Jessica, please give her a call and say Ali wants to give you a makeover.
Yes, Sarah Jessica Parker. I will dress her. You let me know.
Yeah, and Ellie, I'm pretty sure that whoever is listening right now is like, wow, maybe fashion is my career path. So, what advice would you give them if they either want to major in design or maybe fashion itself?
first off, I would say, like I said, I had no idea where my career would be and how it would transition. So don't feel just because you pick one field, you're stuck there forever. It's not true. You can change, a million times over if you play your cards right. So, I would just say, figure out what you're really passionate about, get a degree, work hard, network, put your ego aside, be willing to learn, be willing to do the hard work. I mean, I spent hours, 15 hours a day, 18 hours a day with people, taping shoes, doing laundry, bringing coffee, bringing donuts. I mean, you name it, I was doing it. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to get their hands dirty. So roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, have a great attitude, be the first one there, last one to leave, and be passionate about what you do, and you'll be successful.
I hope they heard that and I hope they take your advice as well. And when it comes to trends, what do you see them being 10 years from now? Because let's say during the pandemic time, there are pastels, bold colors, monochromatic looks also. And for some reason, people loved feathers. So what do you see fashion being like 10 or maybe 5 years from now?
To be honest, I think it's going to be really, it's going to change quite a bit because I think that the fast fashion is dying. I don't think people are going to be, buying maybe the so-called fast fashion trends so much anymore because it's just not worth it and it's not worth the investment. We were talking about investment before. And so I feel like people are going to invest more in the staples and I think they're going to go back to basics a little bit. And I think they'll still have fun with colors and everything. But I feel like because of the way the world is changing and shifting and people maybe won't be traveling, as much. And when they do travel, maybe they'll be trying to keep it more simple. So I feel like, and who knows, because who knows what could change. But right now, it's a hard thing to say. But right now, from all the studying I've been doing, I feel like fast fashion is dying. Classic looks are coming back quite a bit. Basic staples and people really investing in things that are like quality, things that don't need like a ton of, dry cleaning, things that are easy and manageable, things that have, great versatility, items that they know are going to last and that feel good on them. I think it's going to go back to that versus what a trend is. I think it's going to be a big switch up in that sense.
I also see that direction because you'll see that maybe 90s clothes are now becoming a thing now. People are starting to embrace the old fashion.
Absolutely.
And in this new era, I think that the old will become the new thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I think a lot of that stuff will play back in.
But anyways, Ali, thank you so much for being on this episode today. We have learned a lot about you, about your work, and most importantly, about fashion.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Very much welcome. And to whoever is listening right now, you can check out her Instagram at Ali Levine Design. And to be clear, she's verified. So whoever is using a similar name, that's not Ali. But you can also you can also check out her website, alilevine.com, and also her podcast, which is available on Apple and Spotify, Everything with Ali Levine. And check out anything that has to do with her, especially fashion. Probably after the pandemic, she'll be in the red carpet again, right, Ali?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they're not talking about doing these events till like 2022. So
Yeah.
I might be doing Zoom fashion shows, but I'll be there, So yeah, definitely keep your eyes open. And I mean, anyone that's listening, I am doing Zoom and remote, FaceTimes and Skype and all of that. So if you are looking to get styled by me, feel free to reach out. I am working with everyday, people in the public, especially now with the pandemic. So please feel free, to reach out for a consultation or if you want to work with me.
Yeah, and thank you once again for being on the show. We hope to see you probably one day, meet you, and get styled by you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and say hi to the little one. We can clearly hear her.
I know I was going to say, I've been telling her to be quiet, but I figured you're going to hear her little bits.
That's okay. That's okay. She's on a podcast now.
Yeah, it's all good. I have to say, I have to be very proud of her because I'm surprised that she didn't get loud. She was actually sitting here reading her book and playing with my jewelry because we're in my office where all my, fashion stuff is, which has become half of styling and half of mom life. So it's literally like jewelry all around in one area and fabulousness, and then the other area is like teepee and kid toys everywhere. And so so that's my life now. And so yeah, so she was right next to me and she's looking at this magazine and pulling on the jewelry on my wall. So, you know, I think she's my little future fashionista assistant.
Probably so, or maybe the next it girl in LA like her mom.
Never know. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, we never know. But anyway, thank you so much once again. And this will be it, ladies and gentlemen.
And that will be it for this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcasting app, especially Apple Podcasts, and share it with all your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, creativity is intelligence having fun. Until next time, #PodRock.